Okay, now we're on Chapter 2, Lesson 2, Divide by One-Digit Divisors, where we're going to continue to perform operations with multi-digit whole numbers and with decimals to hundredths. Before I start this video, I will say that a lot of this lesson is very similar to the previous one, so it'll give me the opportunity to describe a few more things that I've neglected in the other one just because there was so much information to do. So I'm going to start with number 2. It's just because there's not enough room to do number 1 right now, but I do hope you know how to do number 1 as their example. But number 2, the first thing I'm going to do is rewrite this equation on top, going 312 divided by 5 equals blank. And then I'm going to name these things. 312, the inside number, is your dividend, and that is your total. 5 is your divisor. And when you divide these two numbers, you will get the answer to a division problem, which is your quotient. And so remember, if you want full credit, the first thing, that's an E, sorry. The first thing you need to do is write this out left to right, labeling everything. The second thing you need to do is actually divide it out. 312 divided by 5. And you're going to start by looking at your divisor. Your divisor is 5. And so when you're using your cheat sheet, you're going to be using the 5 section. Okay? We're going to be looking at the answers in red to help us. We're going to start with Buddy. 5 times what number gets close to or equal to 3 without going over? So Buddy, 5 times what number gets close to or equal to 3 without going over? So we're looking at the reds here, and we want the number to be close to 3 or equal to 3 without going over. So if you look at the reds here, under the 5, the red section, 15, 20, and 25, all these numbers are way too high from 3. So we're going to look at the first column, 0, 5, and 10. Of these 3 numbers, the closest one that goes to 3 without going over is going to be 0. Because 10 is bigger than 3, 5 is bigger than 3, and so the math fact that we'll be using is 5 times 0 equals 0. And the way that we're going to write this out is 5 times 0 equals 0, and we're going to subtract these two numbers. 3 minus 0 equals 3. 3 take away 0 is 3. Once we do that, we're going to bring down the 1. When you're drawing this arrow, make sure to draw the arrow so we know we used the number. Have the arrow stop before the equal sign, and then place that number right next to the to your answer when you subtract it. Now you're going to ask yourself, Buddy, 5 times what number? And make sure when you're doing it, you point it out so you know these are where the numbers are going to go. 5 times what number gets close to or equal to 31 without going over? So we're looking at the reds. We want to get close to 31, and we're looking at the 5 section. These are not close to 31. These are getting kind of close to 31, especially this 25 here. But here's the money shot right here. We're going to compare these ones to 31. 40 is bigger than 31. 35 is bigger than 31. 30 is the number closest to 31 without going over, because these two go over. So the math fact that we'll be using is 5 times 6 equals 30. 5 times 6 equals 30. Then we're going to subtract 31 from 30. 1 minus 0 is 1. 3 minus 3 is 0. From here, when you subtract these two numbers, this should always be smaller than your divisor before bringing down the number, or else you made a mistake and you didn't pick the one closest to this without going over. When you subtract these two numbers, this number should always be smaller than the divisor before bringing the next number down. That being said, let's bring down the next. Buddy, 5 times what number gets closer or equal to 12 without going over? So we're looking at the 5s because the divisor is 5, and then all these red answers. Which one gets closer to 12 without going over? You can see in this section, 15, 20, and 25 are all larger than 12, so we'll look over here. 10 is very close to 12 without going over. The one after that is 15, and that goes over, so we're going to use the math fact. 5 times 2 equals 10. 5 times 2 equals 10. And when we subtract, it's 2 left over. The divisor should be, this number should be less than the divisor. There are no numbers to bring down, and so this right here is our leftover, or what we will call in division our remainder 2. And we'll use a lowercase r, and so you can see our answer is 62 remainder 2. So our quotient is 62 remainder 2. Now, as I said, I'm going to use this video to utilize some time describing some things I didn't describe before. One of the things I want to describe is that when your first number is smaller than your divisor, your first digit of the number, then we will have 0 of that. So here we have 3, and in the values place, this is 300. The 3 digit is smaller than the 5, which means this will be a 0. We will have no hundreds. So our answer is going to be less than 100. Every person, let's imagine that we had $312, and we're going to divide it by 5 people. Everyone's going to get less than 100 if it wants to be equal, because we only have $300 bills. 100, 200, 300, and we have 5 people to give it to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what they're saying is no one will have $100, because if we give this bill to this person, this bill to this person, and this bill to this person, these two wouldn't have a $100 bill, and therefore it wouldn't have been split up equally. What they're going to have to do to these $100 bills instead is exchange them all for $10 bills. 10, 20, 30. And so you'll have 10, 20, 30 bills. $10 bills, which is where this comes from. And then you're going to bring down the tens. What I'm pretty much saying is, here, if the first digit is less than the divisor, then they won't be able to have that much. It'll be less than that. So our first digit is 3, and it's in the hundreds place. The value is 300. And the 3 is smaller than the 5. The answer is going to be smaller than 100. Now looking over here, our first digit is 7, and it's in the hundreds place. And our divisor is 4. You can see if you have $700 bills, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oops, that's supposed to be just 100. And then you're to have 4 people. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each person can get $100 bill. This could go to person 1, 2, 3, 4. So everyone was given $100 bill. Unfortunately, after that, there's only 1, 2, 3 left, and there's 4 people. So they can't get $200 bills. And what they cannot do that. So instead, what they're going to have to do is regroup those into tens again. So your answer here is going to be more than 100. Everyone's able to get 100, but not everyone's able to get 200. So your answer is going to be more than 100, but less than 200. Whereas here, no one got a $100 bill. Your answer is less than 100. So here you can kind of start estimating, what do you think the answer is going to be? Before moving on to 5, 6, and 7, I'm going to show you that just the estimation of these. Keep in mind that this is your dividend. Make sure to label it. This is your divisor. And you're trying to find the quotient. In order to get a check plus, don't forget you do have to double check your work multiplying. So for this one, before going to 3 and 4, you're going to do 62 times 5. So you're going to take this number and you're going to multiply it by your divisor. 5 times 2 is 10. 6 times 5 is 30. Once you get that answer, 30 plus the 1, 31. With the remainder, you're going to add it, 312. And these should be the same answers, your dividend. Same with this one. In order to receive full credit, you should be doing 4 times 181. And you should get 724. And don't forget to rewrite this one out. 724 divided by 4 equals 181, where you label the dividend, divisor, and quotient. All right, back to what I was trying to get at. Here, 278 divided by 2. The number's 2 here, and you're dividing by 2 people. So if you have $200 bills, and you're giving it to 2 people, everyone's going to get $100 bill. So everyone's going to get at least 100. They don't have enough to get 200. So this answer, your quotient, is going to be everyone gets about 100 something. They have more, but they can't get more than that. They can't get more than 200. Same with this one. 336 divided by 7. When you're looking at this, you have $300 bills. 1, 2, 3. But you have 7 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You cannot give everyone a $100 bill because these 4 people won't get one. So this number will be less than 100. Your quotient, no one can get a full $100 bill because you only have 3 of them and you're giving it to 7 people. Therefore, your answer is going to be less than 100. So do keep those things in mind. You know, it's not just, you know, use the cheat sheet and find the 0. Use the cheat sheet and find the 5. It's what do these numbers represent? That being said, go ahead and show your work for 2 and 3. Don't forget to write out the top. After you solve it, make sure to check your answer using multiplication in order to get full credit. When you get to number 5, this is why we keep writing everything out. Find the value of n in each equation. Write what n represents. When they say write what n represents, they're asking is it a dividend, divisor, and quotient in the related division problem. N equals 3 times 45. Well, first, let's do 45 times 3. Because n equals 3 times 45. Because of the commutative property of multiplication, you could switch them. 5 times 3 is 15. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 1 equals 13. If you have trouble with your 3's, you could look here. 3 times 5 is 15. 4 times 3, or 3 times 4, is 12 plus 1, 13. So we have 135. If we were to write this in a division problem, we can say 135 divided by 3 equals 45, because that's when we're checking our answer. Our total is our, you can see over here, our total, when you multiply something out, is our dividend. The 3 is our divisor, and the 45 is our quotient. And so our answer is 135 dividend. So find the value of n. N equals 135. N is the dividend. And keep in mind in multiplying, these two are factors, and that's the product. The product in a multiplication problem is the dividend in a division problem. With the math families, the product becomes our total. It's the dividend. Okay, and you're going to keep doing the same thing for the other ones. What is this? When we're multiplying this out, 62 times 5 equals 310. 4 times 160 is something here. Plus that 2, where did we get that from? That was our remainder. So as a hint here, this is our remainder. How do we find our remainder? Look through here, look through these steps and figure it out. Here, this is our divisor times our quotient plus our remainder. So this is the divisor, so the number on the outside, multiplied by part of the quotient, the whole number, the quotient's whole number, and that's the remainder. This is, again, the divisor multiplied by the quotient, at least the whole number to it, the 5 times the 62 plus the remainder, what does that make this? So I'm not going to tell you what this is the way that I did for here. The n right here is the remainder. What is the n here? And what is it? How much is it equal? Last but not least, our favorite word problems. Randy has 128 ounces of dog food. He feeds his dog 8 ounces of food each day. How many days will the dog food last? So here we always have to start with a total. Do we know total? Yes or no? If so, it goes on top. Altogether, total, there's 128 ounces of dog food. So there's 128 ounces of dog food total in the whole bag. Now, each day, so here's a box. Day 1, he's feeding them 8 ounces. Day 2, 8 ounces. How many days will the dog food last? That means here, you don't know how many boxes there are. This is day I don't know, because you're figuring out how many days. That's a question mark. I don't know. But you know that you're going to give him 8 ounces. So here, you start with 128 total. That's your total. And on day 1, you take away 8, subtract 8. You take away 8, subtract 8. You take away 8, subtract 8. And you're going to keep doing that every single day until you run out of dog food. And you're going to figure out how many days were you able to do that. Because you keep taking away, are we going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide? What gets smaller? Subtraction, division. If we have 128 total food, we're not going to add 8 to it. We're not going to add 8 to it because we're not going to the store and getting more and more. We're feeding it and we're getting less and less. So we're not going to add and multiply, which is get smaller. Like I said, you could do 128 minus 8. And then you have 120, that's day 1. Minus 8, that's 112, that's day 2. Minus 8, and then figure out from there. But since we're in the division 1 and it's repeated division, repeated subtraction, let's divide. When you do 128 divided by 8, you'll figure out your answer. If you have a remainder, decide what you need to do with it, but I'm pretty sure you don't have a remainder for that one. Don't forget to label your dividend, your divisor, check your answer using multiplication. Have fun with that. Angelina bought a 64-ounce can of lemonade mix. So if you imagine that powdered box, there's 64 ounces. She uses 4 ounces of mix for each pitcher of lemonade. So she'll scoop out 4 ounces and then put her water, make lemonade. She'll scoop out 4 ounces. She'll scoop out 4 ounces. So here you have a total again. Your total goes on top. It's 64 ounces of lemonade mix total. I'm just going to put mix total. And are there 4 boxes or is there 4 in each box? Let's decide. One box is going to represent pitcher 1 because it says each pitcher. Inside pitcher 1 is 4 ounces. Pitcher 2, 4 ounces. Does it say here how many pitchers there are? No, it's asking how many pitchers can she make? So you don't know how many pitchers there are. That's a question mark. But you do know that pitcher is going to have 4 ounces too. So let's think about this. There's like this whole can right here. And there's 64 ounces. And what you're doing is you're scooping 64 ounces. You're putting it into a pitcher. And you're putting 4 ounces of it into a pitcher. Then you make your pitcher and you drink your lemonade. Then you scoop another 4 ounces. Is the 64 and the 4 getting bigger or smaller? It's getting smaller. So we're either going to subtract or divide because we're not adding anything to the 64. We're taking it away. We're saying there's 64 total and we're getting smaller. We're not going to multiply it because it's not getting bigger. You could do 64 minus 4 equals 60, and you did that one time. Minus 4 equals 56. You did it 2 times. Minus 4 all the way until you get to 0 and count how many times did you subtract 4. How many times are you able to scoop 4 out? Or you could just divide, which is 64 divided by 4. Don't forget to write down your dividend, your divisor, and your quotient. The other thing I want to make sure to caution you on is first 8 and 9, definitely do it on a separate piece of paper. And you might need to use a separate piece of paper for some of this because it is pretty hefty. Don't forget to do the back side. Ask me any questions in class tomorrow. Have a good day. Hopefully, keep in mind that this is very similar to the lesson before. The only difference is we're thinking about the numbers now. This answer is going to be more than 100, but less than 200. This is going to be less than 100. This is going to be less than 100. This is going to be more than 100, but less than 200, things like that. That's what they want you to realize in this lesson. All right, have a good day.